Rice Caldwell trusted two things in his life: his own fists and the ship he'd built from scraps, debts, and stubbornness. Right now, one of those things was failing him spectacularly. Then, he muttered, gripping the pilot controls, "Give me something good." "Certainly," the AI replied in her dry monotone. "Your trajectory will end quickly, efficient, even terrible pep talk. You request honesty. I provide honesty." A burst of electrical discharge shot through the cabin. The console flickered. The ship dove hard left, yanked by the rift's gravitational vanes. Outside the viewport, the Varian rift churned like a storm of molten stars. The Ember Vale was dead ahead, glowing like a wound cut into the world, and Rice was heading straight into it. "Reroute the stabilizers," he barked. "I rerouted them 37 seconds ago," Ven said. "They disagreed with your judgment and quit." "Machines can't quit. Yours can." The ship spun into a spiral. Alarm lights screamed. Rice braced his feet on the deck, veins tight, muscles locked. For a moment, the gravitational pressure hit so hard his vision blurred at the edges. Then the ship dropped through the red fog, tore into the Vale's burning sky, and slammed into the ground. Metal screamed. Stone split. The world flipped. Then darkness took him. He woke to heat, real heat, heavy living heat that pressed against his skin like a hand. Rice pushed himself up, head pounding. His ship was a wreck. Smoke poured from the torn hull. Ven crackled faintly from the half-melted console. "Alive?" Rice asked. "Technically, how technically?" "You are breathing. I am not. You win." Rice dragged himself out of the cockpit and stepped into a world that looked carved from fire and held together by magic. The Ember Vale burned with a light that shouldn't exist, crimson rivers glowing beneath black stone, pillars of shimmering heat rising like spirits. The air hummed. The ground felt warm enough to melt steel boots. Rice blinked against the brightness. "This is new. It is also forbidden," Ven added unhelpfully. "Entering it without authorization violates 7 regional laws. Good thing no one's here to arrest me." "That is statistically unlikely." Rice frowned. "What does that mean?" Before Ven could answer, Rice felt it. A presence not behind him, not ahead, everywhere, like the valley was breathing around him and noticing him. Then a voice carried through the heat. "You survived the fall." He spun. A figure stood atop a ridge of embers. The heat warped around her like she commanded it, not endured it. She descended with slow, deliberate steps, each one controlled and confident. Lux, even from a distance, she was impossible to miss. Humanoid, hourglass curves, wrapped in dark red armor grown from Vale crystal, skin warmed by the firelight, eyes black and deep, reflecting flame like mirrors, hair dark as obsidian, pulled back in a high tail that flowed like smoke. Her presence carried weight, authority, a quiet dominance that made the air feel tighter, but her expression, unreadable, studying him with a sharpness that felt like being measured by something ancient. "You're human," she said as she reached the ground. "You shouldn't be able to tread on Vale's soil." Rice wiped blood from his brow. "I didn't exactly walk and you didn't die either. Not planning to. I've had worse landings." Lux stepped closer. She moved with terrifying precision. No wasted motion. Her eyes flicked from his stance to his shoulders, to his hands, evaluating him like a weapon she wasn't sure she wanted to use. "The Vale opened for you," she said. "It hasn't opened for anyone in 300 cycles." Rice crossed his arms. "Yeah, I didn't ask it to. The pulse never asks." "What even is the pulse?" She lifted her chin slightly, as if sensing the Vale's reaction. The ground beneath them vibrated faintly, more like a breath than a quake. "You will meet it soon enough." Rice frowned. "I didn't come here for this. I was doing a job." Lux's expression didn't change. "You won't be leaving." "Is that a threat?" "A fact." She stepped even closer, close enough that the heat coming off her skin felt like standing near a forge. "You were called, and the Vale never calls without purpose." Rice's pulse sharpened. His instincts screamed danger, but not from Haratha, from everything around them. The air thickened with heat and something deeper, something watching. "What purpose?" he asked. Lux's voice dropped lower. "Survival, mine, yours, the Vale's." A rumbling echoed through the valley. Deep, Metallica, hungry. Lux's eyes snapped to the horizon. "They found us." Rice tensed. "Who?" Lux grabbed his wrist. Her grip was firm, hot, unbreakable. "Move. If the hunters reach you before the Vale accepts you, everything burns." Rice didn't fully understand her words, but he understood the look in her eyes. A leader who'd been alone too long. A warrior with no one left to trust. A powerful being staring at the first unpredictable variable in centuries, and not sure whether to fear him or protect him. He let her pull him into the burning heart of the Vale behind them. Something massive roared, the kind of sound that meant death was coming fast. Lux pulled Rice across a ridge of molten stone, moving with the kind of grace you only earned by surviving the impossible. The Ember Vale opened before them like a living labyrinth, bridges of black crystal arcing over lava veins, pillars, breathing sparks, the very ground pulsing with heat. Rice kept pace, barely. He wasn't winded. He refused to be winded, but each breath tasted like molten metal. The Vale wasn't just hot. It was alive with its own rhythm, and his body didn't belong to it. Lux noticed. You are pushing too hard, she said without looking back. I'm fine, you are human. Lux tightened her grip on his wrist. Humans are not built for this. Rice pulled his hand for a notch roughly, just enough to make a point. Humans are built for survival. Lux stopped so abruptly he nearly ran into her. She turned her head slightly, her dark eyes meeting his with a sharp heat that wasn't anger, more like curiosity forced into dominance than prove it. Rice stared back, unflinching. I already am. Something in her expression flickered maybe, but it vanished as quickly as it came. The ground trembled again, this time closer. Lux's posture shifted instantly into battle readiness, whole body angled toward the sound. The hunters are tracking the disturbance your ship caused. They will not stop. Rice squinted into the glowing horizon. What are they? Bounty hunters, soldiers, predators, she answered, created specifically to kill anything the Syndicate believes threatens its rise. That's comforting. Lux moved again, faster now, urgency replacing composure. They descended into a corridor of basalt walls streaked with glowing veins. The vibration in the stone grew sharper, closer. Rice could feel the approach of something metallic and relentless. Lux, he said, we're heading deeper. Isn't that where this pulse thing is? Yes, and the hunters know that too. Right. Yes, so we're walking right into their target. Lux didn't slow. You are the target. Rice grabbed her shoulder, forcing her to face him. She froze, surprised not by the touch, but by the fact someone dared interrupt her momentum. If I'm the target, he said, voice steady, I'd like to know why. Lux stepped closer, not aggressively, not gently, just with the force of someone used to being obeyed. Because the veil opened for you, she said. It hasn't opened for anyone in centuries. It doesn't explain anything. It explains everything. The tremor behind them grew into a thunderous metallic stride. Lux's jaw tightened. There is no more time to ease you into this. She took his arm firmer, this time, and pulled him into running again. Rice didn't resist. Whatever the veil was, whatever its pulse was, whatever she was, he could feel the truth pressing toward him like heat off a furnace, whether he wanted it or not. They reached a cavern so vast it swallowed sound. The ceiling was lost in shadow. The walls glowed in slow, pulsing waves, and in the center of it all hovered a sphere of molten gold and crimson, suspended in midair by nothing. The pulse dotted spun slowly, shedding fragments of light that evaporated before touching the ground. Rice stared. You're kidding. This is why the veil exists, Lux said quietly. This is why it called me. Rice asked, pointing at himself. Why me? I'm not special. I'm a contractor, not a chosen one. Lux looked at him, calm and absolute. The pulse disagrees. Rice opened his mouth to protest. Then the hunters arrived. 3 metallic figures dropped from the ceiling like blades falling from the sky. Their armor shimmered with the same ember-red glow as the veil itself, but darker, twisted, corrupted. Their heads snapped toward Rice instantly. Lux moved before they did. Her palm hit the ground. A shockwave of molten light erupted outward, forming a protective arc around Rice that held for a precious second before the hunters began tearing through it. Rice barked. That thing isn't stopping them. It is not meant to stop them. Lux rose to her full height, ember light crawling up her arms. It is meant to slow them. Well, that's working great. One hunter lunged. Rice grabbed its arm mid-swing, twisted, and slammed it into the wall. Its armor dented, but not enough. It turned its attention fully on him. Rice. Lux shouted. He ducked a blade. Barely. Why do they want me? Because you touched the veil. I crashed into it. There are no accidents with the veil. The hunter drove him back toward the pulse. Rice blocked another strike with his forearm, pain bursting up his arm. He grabbed the hunter's headplate and smashed it into his knee. Sparks flew. The second hunter rushed Lux. She met it head-on. Lux didn't move like a human or even a soldier. She moved like fire given a body fluid. Violent, brilliant. Every strike glowed. Every dodge left streaks of heat in the air. When she hit the hunter, its armor cracked like glass under a hammer. But they kept coming. The veil screamed again, this time through the walls, through the air, through their bones. Lux. Rice yelled. We're not winning this. We are not meant to. Not helping. The pulse will decide. What does that even mean? Do not fight it, Rice, she yelled, voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. Let it see you. The hunters closed in on him from both sides. Rice turned toward the pulse. It brightened. Lux's voice echoed behind him. Touch it. Rice hesitated for half a heartbeat. Then the hunters lunged. Rice reached out. His fingers brushed molten, lightened. The world exploded. Light swallowed him whole. Not the kind that blinds. The kind that exposes. Rice's body froze as molten brilliance poured over him. His heartbeat thundered against his ribs, each pulse matching the rhythm of the glowing sphere. Lux was shouting something, but her voice dissolved into the roar flooding his head. The pulse wasn't just light. It was a presence. Ancient, endless, a mind that wasn't a mind, more like a will forged from fire and silence, watching him from every angle at once. Rice tried to pull his hand back. He couldn't. He wasn't sure if that scared him or pissed him off more. Heat surged up his arm, raced across his chest, and crashed into his skull in a flood of memory, not his own. Lux as a child, training alone under a burning sky, Lux kneeling before the Vale's core, chosen, bound by duty. Lux watching her mentors vanish one by one until only she remained. The vision twisted, and now Rice saw his own life reflected in the molten surface like a mirror. His father, teaching him to brace his stance. His mother holding his bruised hands after a fight he didn't start. The first time he won a job through pure stubbornness. The first time he lost one the same way. The quiet nights alone. The noise he used to fill silence. The pride. The anger. The walls around his heart thick enough to be stone. The pulse burrowed deeper. It saw everything. Every fear he never admitted to. Every weakness he hated. Every strength he didn't recognize. Every decision he regretted, and every one he'd do again. And beneath it all, one truth he'd tried to bury under work, fights, and noise. He didn't trust ease, but when he did, he held on like iron. The pulse pressed harder, the world tilting, burning, reshaping. Then, for the first time, it spoke not with sound, but with certainty, worthy of fire, worthy of burden, worthy of her. Rice staggered. What does that mean? He gasped. The pulse didn't answer in words. Instead it pulsed once, shedding a ring of molten light that hit the ground and rippled through the chamber. The hunters froze. Lux froze. The Vale itself froze. Then the light flooded back into Rice's chest. His knees hit the ground. His palms slammed down harder than he meant to. Heat poured through him, strength, clarity, and something that felt like resolve forged in flame. Lux's voice finally broke through the haze. Rice. He looked up. She was running toward him, worry burning in her dark eyes, not panic, but something deeper, something she wasn't used to showing. Her presence hit him like cool air on overheated metal. Breathe, she commanded. You must steady yourself. I am trying. Try harder. She grabbed his shoulder with one hand, grounding him. The contact wasn't gentle. It wasn't meant to be. Lux didn't offer softness. She offered strength. You saw it, didn't you? She whispered. The pulse showed you. Rice nodded shakily. It showed everything. Lux drew a breath. Then it accepted you. Did it? She held his gaze. You are alive. That is the only acceptance it gives. The pulse dimmed slightly behind them like an eye half closing. Lux rose to full height, still gripping him, still steady, still radiating command. Listen to me. The pulse does not choose lightly. It chose you. Why? Because you are not afraid of your own fire, she said. And because you refuse to break. Rice let out a dry laugh. I felt pretty close. Everything close to breaking is also close to becoming stronger. Their eyes held for a moment. Heat rolled between them. Not veiled heat, but something charged. Something human and alien meeting in the same breath. The ground trembled. The hunters began to move again. Lux's hand fell from his shoulder. The fire returned to her posture, the warrior reassembling around her emotion. We do not have long, she said. Trial 1 is complete. Trial 2, he asked. She turned her head toward the cavern entrance. The Reaver wakes. Rice exhaled. That sounds bad. Lux didn't smile. It is. The tremor grew into a quake. Stone cracked overhead. Molten fragments fell like shards of falling stars. Rice pushed to his feet and squared his stance. All right, tell me what a Reaver is. Lux met his gaze, steady and unflinching. A guardian beast older than my lineage. It protects the Vale's balance. It kills anything it judges dangerous. And it thinks I'm dangerous. No, Lux said. She stepped closer again. It thinks we are. Before Rice could respond, the cavern wall shattered and the Reaver's roar thundered through the world. The cavern wall didn't break, it detonated. A tidal wave of molten stone blasted outward, forcing Rice to raise an arm to shield his face. Shards of glowing rock clattered across the ground, each one hissing as they cooled. The Vale shook like a creature waking in anger. Lux stepped forward, her body angled in a protective stance, so instinctive it looked practiced. Her dark eyes narrowed, pupils tightening at the sight that emerged through the smoke. The Reaver towered over both of them. For massive limbs ending in claws forged from obsidian, a body layered with volcanic armor plates that shifted and cracked, revealing rivers of molten light beneath, an ice to glowing pits burning with ancient fury, a beast built by the Vale. Itself, Rice's instincts screamed at him to run. Every survival reflex inside his body, honed from a lifetime of fights and the near-death experiences that shaped him, braced for the kind of pain that didn't end well. But he didn't run. Lux didn't either. The Reaver roared, a sound like a collapsing star. The ground quaked. Embers rained from the ceiling like volcanic ash. Lux spoke without turning. Rice, here you stand with me. He didn't hesitate. Yeah. Not because he was fearless, not because he trusted the Vale, but because he trusted one thing he'd never expected to trust: Cole and her. Lux inhaled once a slow, measured breath, and the ember veins under her skin glowed faintly. She raised her hands. The ground beneath her feet lit up, molten cracks forming. A sigil Rice couldn't read but felt deep in his bones. The Reaver charged. Lux slashed her palms through the air. Wall of molten energy erupted between them and the beast, but the Reaver tore through it with a single swipe. Heat exploded outward. Rice stumbled, boots sliding on the scorching stone. Lux, I know. The Reaver swung downward with a claw the size of a full-grown man. Rice lunged, grabbing Lux's arm. He pulled her clear just as the claw split the ground where she'd stood. The impact cratered the stone, sending a shockwave that knocked them both sideways. Lux twisted midair and landed in a low, controlled crouch. Rice hit harder, rolled, came up bruised but standing. "Are you hurt?" she asked, scanning him. "I'm good." "You are lying." "Only a little." The Reaver roared again, molten drool splattering the stone as it stalked toward them. Lux's jaw clenched. "It's stronger than before." Rice cracked his knuckles. "So are we." Lux shot him a look, half disbelief, half something like reluctant admiration. "The pulse empowered you, but you lack control." "I'll figure it out." "You do not have time." "Then tell me how." Lux stepped close enough that her heat pressed against his skin. "Do not force the fire," she said. "Let it rise. Let it decide with you." "Decide what?" "Whether you are worth wielding." Rice swallowed. Not a fan of the sound of that. Lux didn't get to answer. The Reaver leaped. Rice shoved Lux aside and dove in the opposite direction, instincts taking over. The beast hit the ground between them with earth-shattering force, its massive claws raking sparks as it skidded toward Lux. Lux reacted instantly. She pivoted, leaped onto a stone outcrop, and launched herself at the Reaver's head. Her fist ignited in molten light as she slammed it into the beast's eye. The Reaver screeched, its molten blood spraying across the ground in arcs. But then it whipped its head sideways. Lux was thrown like a ragdoll. She hit a basalt wall so hard the entire cavern shuddered. She dropped to one knee, breath punched out of her. The ember lines under her skin dimmed for the first time Rice had seen. "Lux." Rice sprinted toward her. She pushed herself up, jaw clenched tight. "Stay back." "Not happening." "Rice, you do not understand. The Reaver is drawn to imbalance. If you reach me in a weakened state, it will target you twice over." "Good." She blinked. "Good means it focuses on me instead of you." Luxury flickered in her eyes, a rare emotion. "Do not be reckless." Too late. The Reaver's molten gaze snapped toward Rice. He felt the heat before the beast even moved. It charged. Rice didn't run. He planted his feet, took a breath, let the fire in his chest swell instead of fighting it. The pulse's energy rose through him again, not with pain this time, but with a fierce clarity. The Reaver swung. Rice caught the claw. For a moment, just a moment, he held it back. Lux stared. Breath caught. The Reaver snarled and pushed harder, lava dripping from its armor. Rice's muscles screamed. His boots skidded across the ground, but he didn't let go. He pushed back. The pulse of molten energy racing through him surged, spiraling down his arm. His hands glowed. The fire inside him didn't burn, it aligned. He felt the veil. He felt the beast. He felt Lux's eyes on him like an anchor. He roared, heaving the Reaver's claw aside. Light burst from his hands. The Reaver stumbled. Lux rose to her feet, voice fierce. Again, Rice didn't need the instruction. He lunged. Fire erupted, and the cavern became an inferno. The Reaver clawed at him, but Rice ducked under a swipe and drove a blazing fist into its chest. Obsidian cracked, molten blood splattering across the stone. Lux appeared behind the creature in a blur of heat. She slammed her palms to the ground, molten chains erupting upward and wrapping around the Reaver's legs. It roared, thrashing, molten blood spilling Rice. Lux shouted, "Finish it." He didn't question the command. He let the fire take him fully, not losing himself in it, but rising with it, aligning with it, accepting it exactly as the pulse demanded. He leapt faster, higher, stronger than he should have been able to, and slammed both hands into the creature's exposed core. For a second everything went silent. Then the Reaver imploded in a burst of molten light. The cavern shook. Sparks rained. The ground hissed with embers. Rice hit the ground hard, rolling until the heat ebbed from his body. When he looked up, Lux was already at his side, breathing hard but steady. She knelt beside him, her fingers closing around his forearm, not gently, not roughly, but with the same fierce grounding she'd shown before. She stared at him, not with shock, with understanding. "You aligned," she said softly. Rice swallowed. "I didn't think I'd let it happen. You trusted the fire. I trusted you." That made her still, truly still. Her eyes softened, not much, not enough for anyone but him to notice, but it was there, a shift, a crack in the armor. "Trial 2 is complete," she said quietly. "And Trial 3, Lux held his gaze. "Trial 3 tests the bond between us." Rice's breath caught. "What kind of test?" Her answer came like a promise and a warning at once. "The kind we cannot face apart." The cavern dimmed after the Reaver's collapse, its molten light retreating into slow, calm pulses. The air no longer roared. It breathed. The ground no longer trembled. It exhaled heat in steady, rhythmic waves. Rice pushed himself upright, shaking off the last crackling sparks clinging to his skin. Lux stayed close, not hovering, not overprotective, just present, like a force that refused to step away now that the fire inside him had awakened. She watched him with eyes dark as volcanic glass. "How do you feel?" Rice flexed his hands. The flame inside his veins had settled into a warm thrummelive, steady but not overwhelming. "I'm okay," he said. "Stronger, maybe." "Stronger is good," Lux murmured. "We will need it." He looked around the cavern. at the molten cracks still glowing on the stone where they fought. So that was the second trial. Yes. Then what's the third? Lux didn't answer at first. Instead, she stepped closer, slow and deliberate, until the heat from her body blended with his. Her presence wrapped around him like fire coiling into a single powerful point. Rice, she said quietly. The veil does not test power alone. It tests intent, meaning it tests what you fight for. The pulse hummed behind them, its molten surface rotating with slow, deliberate weight. A single ring of light peeled from it, drifting through the air like a floating ember. Lux lifted her chin. The third trial is the bond of fire. Rice's brows pulled together. That sounds poetic, which means I'm probably not going to like it. Lux's expression tightened, not in annoyance, but in a rare flicker of hesitation. She wasn't nervous. Lux didn't get nervous, but she was measuring her next words carefully. The bond of fire is not a battle, she said. It is not a test of strength or skill or survival. Then what is it? Lux took a breath. It is a test of connection, she said. Between you and me. Rice's pulse kicked. Lux's voice dropped even lower, almost a whisper. The veil must be certain that we stand as one, aligned in purpose, aligned in will, aligned how? He asked carefully. Lux's gaze held him with searing intensity, in trust, and suddenly it clicked. Not the fire, not the veil, not the trials. Her. Lux. This wasn't about fighting side by side, it was about choosing each other. The pulse brightened, heat rippling across the cavern floor, flattening into a perfect circle around them. The temperature rose until Rice felt sweat on his brow. The glow intensified. Lux stepped into the circle. When she turned, the light framed her like a flame-forged silhouette. Rice, she said, voice steady, command layered with something softer underneath. Come. The word hit him like gravity. He walked forward, not because the veil pulled him, not because the fire inside pushed him, but because he chose to. They met in the center of the circle. The ground beneath them shimmered like heated metal. Lux raised her hands. Give me your forearms. Rice lifted his arms. Lux clasped them strong, steady, heat radiating through her palms. Her grip was firm, unyielding, powerful, but not controlling. Equal. The pulse flared. Lux's ember veins ignited. Rice felt the fire inside him respond, rising, matching hers, sinking with hers like two currents merging into a river. Lux's breath hitched not from pain, but from the force of the connection. Do not break away, she warned. I'm not going anywhere. The circle of molten light rose like walls around them, enclosing them inside a dome of shifting fire. Rice felt the veil reach for his mind again, but this time it didn't pluck at memories. It didn't dig into pain. It didn't expose. It listened, and it pushed one question into them both. Do you trust each other? Lux's grip tightened. Look at me, she said. Rice did. Her eyes held nothing back. Strength, heat, fear she had carried alone for too long, and the fierce determination that defined every breath she took. Say it, Lux demanded. He didn't hesitate. I trust you. Something in her posture softened so slightly he almost missed it. I trust you, she echoed. The fire surged. Their hands locked tighter, heat spilling from their palms into each other's skin. Rice felt her power rush through him, not burning, but binding, like molten metal joining two pieces into one unbreakable form. Lux inhaled sharply, her dark eyes widening as the pulse inside him aligned with hers. Rice, you are matching me. That's the idea, right? No, she whispered, or tempering her fire. You should not be able to. The circle of fire sank into the ground. The dome collapsed into sparks. The pulse behind them pulsed once, then once more. Then it spoke, not aloud, but through the fire in both their veins. The bond is formed. Trial 3 is complete. The Guardian and the Chosen are one. The light faded. Lux didn't let go. Neither did he. Slowly, the ember glow under her skin dimmed to its normal simmer. She exhaled, letting the last of the trial's intensity roll off her shoulders. Only then did she speak. Rice, she said quietly, you passed the third trial. He swallowed. So that's it then. We're bonded. Lux nodded once. In every way that matters. Silence hung between them, charged, warm, far from empty. Then a crack echoed behind them. A metallic distortion. A whisper of synthetic breath. A faint, corrupted hum. Lux's head snapped up. Rice spun around. On the far side of the cavern where that Reaver had broken through, a cold, dark silhouette stepped into view. Armored, humanoid, eyes glowing with sickly blue. Flame. Not a hunter, something worse. Lux inhaled sharply. The Syndicate Envoy. Rice's jaw tightened. That sounds bad. It is, Lux said, voice low and fierce. Because it should not be here. The envoy raised a hand. The pulse dimmed. Lux grabbed Rice's arm. The final trial, she said, eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and fire, begins now. The Syndicate Envoy stepped through the broken wall with the deliberate pace of something that never needed to rush. Its form was humanoid, but only in shape. Everything else about it was wrong. Armor black as vacuum, joints pulsing with cold blue veins that crawled like frost, a face hidden beneath a smooth visor that reflected the cavern in perfect, lifeless clarity. Lifeless clarity. Sharply, even the veil reacted, the molten lines on the ground flickering. retreating, dimming in the envoy's presence. Lux's breath hitched, barely audible. Her hand tightened on Rice's arm. That thing's not just a soldier, Rice muttered. No. Lux's voice was softer than usual. It is worse. What is it? A purifier. Rice frowned. Sounds friendly. It is not. Lux shifted slightly, placing herself half a step ahead of him, a protective move she didn't make consciously. The Syndicate sends envoys only when they want something erased completely. Erased. Yes, species, cultures, worlds. Rice let out a slow, steady exhale. So this is a problem. More than you know. The envoy raised its head toward the pulse. The molten sphere dimmed, its light shrinking away from the cold that radiated off the armored figure. The envoy spoke. Not through speakers. Not through air. Its voice slid directly into their minds like a shard of ice. The veil has been breached. The chosen has been identified. The bond has formed. Purge required. Rice flinched, clutching his forehead. That's not a voice. That's a migraine attack. Lux snarled, an actual snarl, low and fierce, a sound Rice had never heard from her before. This place is sacred. You are not welcome. The envoy turned its visor toward her. Lux Kivara's unauthorized survival. Termination pending. Lux stepped forward, heat rising along her arms in glowing ember lines. Rice didn't need words to know she was about to attack. He caught her wrist. Wait. She turned to him, eyes blazing. Do not hold me back. I'm not, Rice said. I just need you to tell me if this thing bleeds. It does. Good. He released her wrist. Lux blinked once, recognition, then the hint of a dangerous smile. You fight first. We fight together. Rice took a ready stance. Bonded, right? That's what the trial said. Lux's smile widened, sharp, fierce, proud. Yes, bonded. The envoy lifted its hand. A blade materialized, pure void energy, shimmering like condensed darkness. The cavern cracked under the pressure of its presence. Rice felt the pulse behind him flare in warning. Lux inhaled. Rice, she said quickly, do not let its blade touch you. It is made to sever energy, fire, life. Got it. Don't get stabbed. Do not get even grazed. Okay, don't get stabbed, but louder. Message received. The envoy charged. That didn't run. It moved silently, impossibly fast, like a glitch in reality itself. Lux leaped sideways, emberlight trailing her motion. Rice ducked, the void blade slicing through the air where his head had been a heartbeat earlier. He countered with fire, letting the pulse flow through his arm. Flames erupted from his palm, roaring toward the envoy. The attack hit. The envoy didn't budge. The fire splashed across its armor and evaporated instantly, leaving behind nothing but cold flickers. Lux Rice hissed. It eats fire. Yes, she growled, skidding across molten stone to flank the creature. Envoys consume energy. That is how they extinguish worlds. All right. New plan. Survive. I was thinking something slightly better than that. The envoy turned toward Lux. Its blade extended, lengthening like a living shadow. Lux raised her hands, but this time, Rice reached her first. He slammed his palm to the ground, channeling the pulse the same way she had earlier. A wall of molten stone erupted upward, shielding her. The void blade struck it and split the wall cleanly in half, just split it. Like cutting paper. Lux grabbed Rice's arm and yanked him away as the blade carved down. You see, she snapped. You understand now? Yeah, Rice admitted, rolling to his feet. That thing sucks. Accurate assessment. The envoy glided toward them again. Rice clenched his fists. All right. Fire doesn't work. Walls don't work. Punching is probably a terrible idea. Do not punch an envoy, Rice noted. Lux circled the creature, watching its movements with the eyes of a seasoned warrior. Envoys are strong, fast, resistant to energy, but they have a weakness. Please tell me it's something simple like kick it really hard. No. Lux pointed her chin toward the pulse. It must not be allowed to touch the veil because it will corrupt it, consume it, and then it will consume everything. Rice exhaled hard. Okay, so we keep it away from the big glowing orb of doom. Yes, that's doable. Is it? No idea. Let's find out. The envoy moved again. Lux sprinted to intercept it. She launched herself upward, twisting mid-air, her heel igniting with molten fire. She slammed a spinning kick into the envoy's head. Sound was like metal snapping clean and sharp. The staggered. Just a fraction. Rice didn't waste it. He channeled energy down his arms, a deep, throbbing surge that felt like trying to hold lightning with bare hands, and slammed both fists into the envoy's chest. Heat met void. Fire met frozen dark. Light and shadow collided in an explosion that knocked them all apart. Rice skidded across the cavern floor. His skin burned. His breath shook. But the envoy finally cracked. A thin fissure glowed on its armor, faint but real. Lux landed beside Rice, panting softly. Ember lines flickered under her skin. You hurt it, she said, awe and fire mixing in her voice. Good, Rice grunted. Because it hurt my everything. The envoy rose. Slowly, methodically, its visor turned toward the new crack, assessing the damage. Then its voice sliced into their minds again. The bond is unacceptable. The chosen must be contained. The guardian must be eliminated. Lux's fingers curled into fists. Over my dead body, she hissed. The envoy lifted its blade. Lux stepped forward. Rice grabbed her hand. She froze, not because he stopped her, but because he touched her without hesitation, without doubt, without fear. "We finish this together," he said. Lux stared at him for a long heartbeat. Then she nodded once. "Together." The envoy lunged. Rice and Lux moved as one, fire and flesh, human and alien, two but one bond. And the final battle ignited. The envoy lunged across the cavern, void blade slicing a black arc through the air. Rice met it head-on, flame igniting in his hands with a force that rattled the ground. Lux moved beside him, her steps a blur, ember trails swirling like streaks of molten light. Their movements weren't planned, weren't rehearsed, weren't strategized, they were synced. The bond of fire burned between them, the veil answering their alignment with a pulse that trembled through the very stone. Beneath their feet, the envoy brought its blade down with enough power to split mountains. Lux crossed her arms and caught the blow. Shockwave cracked the cavern floor beneath her boots, but she didn't fall. Ember veins blazed under her skin, lighting her from within like she was carved from living fire. Rice didn't hesitate. He struck the envoy's exposed flank, fire bursting from his fist. The blow hit with a thunderclap. The envoy staggered. Its armor cracked wider. A hiss of void energy leaked from the fissure, distorting the air. Lux's voice cut through the smoke. "The core is inside the chest plate. It hit that, and it will fall on it." The envoy recovered instantly, teleporting forward in a burst of cold that extinguished the flames in the air around it. One moment it was 10 meters away. The next it was behind Rice. Void blade descending. Rice didn't need to turn. He felt the threat moving through the bond, like a shock to his system. Lux was already there. She slammed her shoulder into Rice, knocking him aside as the blade carved a long, black scar into the ground where he'd been standing. Rice spun, sweeping his leg out. He caught the envoy's ankle and tore its footing out from under it. Lux leaped, landing on the envoy's torso mid-fall. The envoy hit the ground hard, still silent, still cold, still relentless. It grabbed Lux by the throat with one hand. Rice lunged, let her go. The envoy turned its visor toward him, the void blade in its other hand extended toward Lux's ribs. Lux's feet kicked, ember trails spinning through the air. She dug her nails into its wrist, molten heat erupting from her palms. Trying to force the envoy's hand open, the envoy squeezed tighter. Rice moved without thinking. The fire inside him erupted in a blast that scorched the ground and propelled him forward with impossible speed. He slammed both hands onto the envoy's arm. Heat surged, void cracked, the envoy's grip broke. Lux dropped to her knees, coughing. Rice slid in front of her instinctively, placing himself between her and the blade. The envoy rose, its movements still chimerally so. "The bond strengthens, therefore you must be unmade." Rice clenched his fists. "Try it." The envoy shifted hand for the first time. It showed urgency. Its blade shortened, condensing into a point. It was going for speed. Now Lux stood beside Rice again, wiping blood from her lip. "It is adapting, so do we." Lux nodded. "Together." The envoy blurred. Time seemed to slow. Rice felt its motion through the air, through the floor, through the bond. He and Lux moved the same instant. The envoy struck where they had been, but they were already behind it. Lux hit first, an elbow to the envoy's spine. Armor shattered. Rice hit next, both fists, palms blazing with pure veil fire, directly into the widening crack. The envoy staggered, its armor split fully. A core of swirling void light flickered inside. Lux caught Rice's wrist. Now, together, she guided his hands toward the core, not needing to speak, not needing to explain, just aligning with him in perfect sync. The pulse behind them answered. Its light surged. Its heat exploded. Rice and Lux slammed their joined palms into the envoy's chest. Fire and void collided. The sound was indescribable, half roar, half implosion, half something the universe itself didn't have words for. The envoy's visor cracked. Its body split. Its core flickered, then ruptured in a burst of collapsing dark. The envoy fell in a silent shower of ash and fragments. The cavern went still. The walls pulsed with returning warmth. The molten veins brightened. The pulse regained its golden glow. Rice exhaled hard and leaned forward, bracing his hands on his knees. His lungs burned. His arms shook from leftover fire. But he was standing. Lux placed a hand on his back, grounding him. "You are alive." He glanced at her with a tired grin. "You sound surprised." "I am relieved," she corrected. "Relief and surprise are similar." Rice laughed weakly. "Not quite." Lux tilted her head. "Human emotions are complicated. Yeah, so are yours." That made her pause. Her lips parted, slightly less surprise, more reflection. "Perhaps," she said. The pulse pulsed again, warm, approving. A beam of molten light extended from its surface, curling toward them like a path. Lux lowered her hand from Rice's back. "The veil calls us." Rice straightened. "What now? More trials?" "No." Lux reached out her hand, not commandingly, not demanding, instead with quiet certainty, recognition. He took her hand. The moment he did, The pulse brightened in a single blinding flare. Molten light wrapped around them, lifting them from the ground. The heat didn't burn this time. It embraced. It felt like stepping into a place that already knew them. The pulse spoke, not harsh, not loud, but deep as a heartbeat. The Guardian stands. The Chosen endures. The bond is true. The veil is renewed. Lux's fingers tightened around Rice's. Rice squeezed back. The pulse lowered them gently onto solid ground. Its glow softened, becoming steady and calm. Lux turned toward Rice. Her eyes didn't blaze now. They didn't command. They didn't shield. They softened, were warm, open. You survived what no other could, she said quietly. Rice met her gaze. We survived it. She stepped closer. The heat radiating from her wasn't fire, it was her. Yes, together. Rice's heartbeat thudded once, heavy with meaning. The pulse glowed one last time behind them, humming approval. Lux lifted her chin slightly. The veil accepts you, and so do I. Rice took a breath, deep, steady. Then I guess I'm not leaving anytime soon. Lux's lips curved at a smirk, not a warrior's grin. Something gentler. Good. She reached up, brushing her fingers across his jaw, studying him with that intense focus she used for everything important. You are fire, she murmured. Rice smiled. So are you.
No.
Lux shook her head. I am flame. You are the spark that turned it into something greater. He didn't answer with words. He stepped forward and rested his forehead against hers. Heat meeting heat. Fire matching fire. Not dominance. Not challenge. Not weakness. Not surrender. Bond. The veil pulsed warmly around them. The trials were over. The threat was gone. The pulse was renewed. Lux whispered, barely audible. Rice, yeah. Stay. He didn't need to think. I'm here. Her eyes softened further. New fire. Different from battle. Different from duty. But just as fierce. And I, Lux said, voice almost a breath, am yours. The cavern hummed with quiet approval. The veil had chosen, and so had they.